Sarah, just briefly, because you've been our demo client, going through all the levels of Lightbody in the past 2 years. What was it like briefly before you started? What were your thoughts about the whole thing? You have to unmute.
I was very pleased to be asked, and I'd only just got to know you, Nicolas, and I think it was Cyril's suggestion that I might be able to perform that role for you. And so I was kind of honoured, but also in a kind of ego-y way, thinking, oh yeah, I'm special. So I think I was still responding to opportunities with quite a lot of my ego in the sort of driving seat. But nevertheless, it led me to you, and I was very inspired by our first conversations when you did my soul contract reading, and I couldn't believe how accurate it was and how you could do a soul contract reading on the rest of my family, having never met them and having, you know, completely sort of got them down to a T just through some numbers. And so whatever it was, you know, part of my understanding was, I knew I was grappling with something that was way beyond my understanding and that I couldn't grasp it with my intellect. And so it was, I suppose, the first thing I'd come up against that completely fascinated me, that I couldn't just respond to in the usual way of just trying to wrap my brain around it and get a book out of the library and look it up on the internet. You know, I just had to kind of surrender to it and just say, well, there's something beyond my capabilities of getting whatever's going on with this. And so then when you asked me to be the client, I was thinking, okay, I might get some insight now, because I'll have an experiential kind of relationship to what it is that you do. And every step of the way, it's been really brilliant. I mean, probably the most eye-opening one was the very first session that we did, because I'd never been to the fifth dimension before, and just that experience of lying on the table and losing all sense of, you know, there being no place, no time, no space, and still hearing you talking and stuff, but being somewhere else completely and being so blissed out and so unwilling to come back. And, you know, somebody asked me the next day, oh, what was it like? And I said, oh, it was like, you know, having white magic done to you, and it felt amazing. So that was, I think, just because it was so unexpected, I think the first time was probably still the most eye-opening, and I looked forward to each session immensely and just kind of brought my whole self to it and no judgment. And I think it was really good practice for me to go into an experience fearlessly. You know, I'm somebody that doesn't go on roller coasters and doesn't like things that are outside of my control, physiologically maybe, more than mentally and emotionally. So it was a good step up for me, and I'm in an entirely different place than I was at the start of the whole process, on all levels. And I feel, yeah, very privileged to be kind of equipped and to have been party to your learning process as well with the group. And I suppose one indicator, one metric I can offer you is that 5 years ago, Nora lent me A Course in Miracles. She said, oh, I think you might like to read this. And before that, she'd lent me Marianne Williamson's book and a couple of other things that she got a good response from me. I'd sort of humoured her, let's say, and read them and kind of offered some feedback. But this was the first book she'd lent me where I gave it back to her a week later, and I said, what the hell is this? It's absolute nonsense. I can't be doing with this. You know, I can't even believe, what is it, you know? And she said, oh, that's okay, you know, you're just not ready for it. And she took it back. And then anyway, on January the 1st this year, I've started A Course in Miracles. And it suddenly seems like my language. 5 years later.
We went on the talk, didn't we?
Oh, we went to see Marianne Williamson, yeah. And I just think, you know, that's the distance travelled was totally shown up by the fact that now I'm reading it and it's like plain English, completely, of course, why not? Absolutely. Whereas before I had such a kind of almost a visceral reaction to the book, that I couldn't wait to give it back to her. You know, I couldn't wait to have it out of my possession. So yeah, it's been a hell of a ride, and I think I feel like I've cheated slightly, because anybody going through what I've been through would have probably spent a few £1,000s by now. So I feel very lucky. My bank balance feels very lucky to have been able to have all these things happen to me, and to have been able to do it and be able to afford it, because I'm not sure I could have justified it, or that might have been the kind of barrier to me doing it, would have been a cost one, funnily enough. But now I can see that it would be worth every penny to anybody.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. Thanks for being our guinea pig.